coming up on this episode of In Your Mind.
Because, most of us are unconscious that we're living 95% of our lives in yesterday and the day before and 10 years before that, or something someone did to you 20 years ago. And it's taking up energy in your own vibrational system, your own vibrational set point. Hi, my name is Sherry Gideons. I'm a transformational speaker, success mentor, spiritual teacher. I help people to clarify what they want in life so that they can win and succeed with mindset principles and spiritual tools.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of In Your Mind podcast with me, your host, Paul Trudel-Payne. And I am beyond excited to have a really good friend of mine, Sherry, here. So please help me welcome Sherry to the show. Hey,
Hi,
Sherry.
Paul. Thank you so much. Oh my God, I've been super, super excited about being on the show with you.
Me too. I cannot wait. Look, me and Sherry connected, and what was supposed to be like maybe a 10, 15-minute conversation turned at least into an hour, if not longer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm beyond thrilled to have you here. So I like to start every, interview with the same question. I want to start from the beginning. I think that's the best way to tell a story. So Sherry, can you tell us a little bit about you as a child?
Oh gosh. So I love to tell people I'm a Gemini. And so Geminis are over the top spirits. And so I was a really, really fun, playful, over the top, very, very inquisitive, because that's a Gemini trait. We're questioners. And I came up during the era of, the 60s and the 70s. And during that time, we were always told, don't ask questions, do as you're told kind of thing. So, there was a lot of fear based around, different belief systems and stuff. So, yep, I was a child that just was, very much an idealist. I, was a very giving heart, very sweet and kind, and wanted very much to help others. And at the same time, I was very inquisitive, very multifaceted, was involved in the typical dance and gymnastics and, all the fun things. And I had a father who was, very much a perfectionist and an achiever. So as a child, he really pushed me to, excel in sports and a lot of speech contests. I was involved in a lot of speech contests. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Northern California, in San Jose, California.
Oh, awesome. And did you have brothers and sisters?
I did. So I'm the oldest of 3 younger brothers. So I have a brother that's 2 years younger than me, 5 years, and 7 years younger than me.
Oh my gosh. And are they still around California, or you guys all ventured out?
Well, it's kind of interesting how when you go on your own path, and yes, we did venture out. I myself live in Phoenix, Arizona, and then my other 2 brothers, one lives in Sacramento, another one lives in Fresno, and then my youngest brother, sad to say, he's no longer with us. So, that was a tragic experience for our family, but yeah, he lived in Fresno when he passed as well.
All right. Well, Sherry, I'm most excited, I think, about you being on the show because you are so open, right? I mean, it's just, and I don't know if that's just with me, but you are so open, and you've gotten me to open up a lot. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason I like to start at the beginning of like, hey, tell us about you as a child, is I feel like it immediately helps people open, immediately makes someone feel a little bit more comfortable, because it's not often someone comes onto a business or a personal development show and has to talk about their childhood.
Right.
But I think you'd agree that a lot of things happen to us in childhood, and a lot of things shape who we are going to become because of the things that happen to us in childhood. So with you, I know you're obviously excellent at so many things, and a lot of that has to do with your father. How is the school experience for you? Because I know it's different for everybody.
The school experience?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Well, because once again, I had a father that modeled that behavior, and I like to say this because yes, I am very open. And so now being in my mid 50s, I can really look back on my life and I can determine a lot of the experiences that I set myself up, for what I went through in life as a result of different belief systems and behaviors that kind of, put me in where I am today. And so the school system for myself, oh my gosh, well, my dad was like, you got to achieve to get love. And so in my particular case, I said, well, how high? How high do I need to achieve? Let me just keep achieving and achieving and achieving. And so in my case, I have several college degrees. I did 6 years in spiritual psychology. I'm a licensed spiritual practitioner is what they call it. I'm also a licensed life mastery consultant with Mary Morrissey, which is Life Mastery Institute. And of course, I went on to train with Bob Proctor and Les Brown and, so many amazing mindset people who are real, transformational leaders who are out there in the world, passing the baton on now to people like you and me.
I mean, number one, it's amazing that you're even in your 50s. I mean, we all should learn your skin routine, I think, because you look great.
Thank you.
Number two, we've talked about this. I am the same way, especially with, how I grew up. It was I felt the need to perform to receive love. Mm-hmm. And it's like that double-edged sword though, right? It's that I would not want my child to feel that way, hopefully. And I hope he doesn't when he's understand this. But at the same time, in your case especially, I'm like, maybe I'm not the best example of this, but your case, it's true. All of those degrees, all of this like education, all of that schooling, like it's one of those things where would you still be at that level, right? If that circumstance hadn't happened. I don't know the answer to that. Only you or someone else would. But it's amazing because you did achieve so much. Like, I mean, you've told me this multiple times, the degrees, the things, and every time I'm just like, how? Like, there's so much, so many things, but it's obviously a testament to who you are and what you can do.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, if I really dig in deep, because I've done a lot of spiritual growth, a lot of personal growth, I had the desire to grow as a person. And I was given a great benefit, a great gift as well in, the experiences I've had in life, because I have what I like to call a winter crop of children, which are in their, mid 20s and early 30s. And then I had a second crop, which I call my summer crop of kids, and to boot, twins. And so I had twins at 39, almost 40. And so the kids I had in my 20s, I could see now where I was in my own personal growth, my beliefs around not being worthy, not being good enough, thinking that I needed to prove my self-worth to society and to people in general. And then fast forward, having had some pretty traumatic experiences that one awakened me to a greater truth of who I am. And two, I had already lived a certain level of life that helped me to tap in deeper into a lot of who we all are as spiritual beings. And so when the twins came along, I was able to really be mindful of setting the stage differently for their modeled behaviors. And one is, from the time they were just little babies, I would say to them, thank you for coming. I'd whisper in their ears, thank you for coming. And I'd hold them and I'd look them straight in the eyes every single day. And I would say to them, do you know how special you are? You are so special. You know, that kind of silly behavior. But the point of it being is I wanted to plant seeds within them right from the get-go. One, every single day, how they're loved and honored. Two, you know, thanking them for choosing me as their mother. Even though, you know, I've grown as a person with them, what I know is that, you know, it's the golden rule. You know, treat others as the way that you want to be treated. And we are led to believe that, you know, we need to control and we need to use force and we need to use our power to get people to do what we want them to do. You know, give me respect. You know, those sorts of things, when in reality, it's how you communicate and where you're communicating from in yourself. That is, it's like you watering seeds within them or other people, you know, in general. It's treating people mindfully from a place inside yourself, the way you want others to treat you. And that's a big moment-to-moment awareness of what's going on inside of you.
And how long would you say it took you to grasp that concept?
Well, I've known it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can know it at the level of the intellectual, but it comes down to the application of it, the beingness of it. And the beingness of it simply requires being more present in today, being more present in the now, because, you know, most of us are unconscious that we're living 95% of our lives in yesterday and the day before and 10 years before that, or something someone did to you 20 years ago. And it's taking up energy in your own vibrational system, your own vibrational set point. And I like to talk about energy a lot because so many people still are unconscious of what energy is, how energy works with us, and how we work with everything within the universe. And so I like to talk about energy because I want people to realize I don't have anything you don't have yourself.
Yes. Well, I think this is a good sort of segue into from school to career to you. Like, what is it that Sherry is doing?
Well, my calling is to help people awaken to the truth of who they are, how we live an unlimited life, how we have access to this infinite ideas and the things that we want in life and the things that we want to be. See, we keep thinking that this part of us is separate. And so my calling is to help people remember who they are and to learn how to tap into that and utilize and own their power for the unlimited potential that is available to them.
And is that through coaching? Is that through programs?
It's a little bit of everything, to be honest. Okay, so it's through coaching. It's through different group community programs that I have. Another way that I do it is I have the High Vibe Nation live TV show and podcast, in which our whole mission is to raise the vibrations of the planet. And just as I've been saying, is to tap people in, you know, to these life solutions and these life ways of being that are a lot easier than we realize. But as I said earlier, we're so unconscious of how we keep being day in and day out that is the cause of these experiences that we really don't want.
Yeah. With what you do, because I know you said it a couple times.
Yeah.
All of it is there, right? It's there.
Yeah.
The stuff is there. You're trying to help people remember. You're trying to make them, lack of a better word, awaken, right? To this. If you could give, and hopefully this is not taking away your coaching stuff, but if you could give like one piece of best advice, best practice that you could help someone maybe even take that first step to remembering or to being awakened, what would it be?
You know, the question that I give all my clients, and that is, if you can just ask yourself this one question every single day, it helps to develop clarity, because you can't change what you're not conscious of. And the clearer you are about what you want, the faster what you're seeking shows up in your life, whether it's the teacher, whether it's a billboard on the side of the road as you're driving down the road, or you walk in, you end up in a conversation at a grocery store in the moment. But the question is, what is it you really want? And I'm going to tell you why. When you ask that question, what is it I really want? It starts to conjure up in you a feeling. And so when I'll give you an example. So when I ask myself that question, what is it I really want? What I really want is to be in a moment right here, right now, with someone like you, having this conversation and sharing my passion, sharing my joy. Woo! As I speak it, look at me. I've got chills all over my arms, because that spirit inside of me, that part of me that is pure spirit, says, yes. What I really want is to be traveling all over the world, helping people of all ages tap into their greatness. As I get clearer and I speak it more and more clearer, what happens is it's creating a feeling in me, an emotional frequency, and we could call it a vibe. And as I speak it more and more, it causes that vibe to expand into a vibration. And that vibration, as I speak it again, guess what? It expands deeper into a frequency. And everything in the universe, guess what? It's music. It's a sound wave. It's energy. And so remember what I said, what you give, basically you're receiving. So if you're giving out this conscious idea of what you really want from a place of emotional connection, guess what? You're pulling back into your vibrational now, a part of you, a piece of you.
Beautiful. That is, I mean, really, it's beautiful what you say. I love getting the chance to speak to people who are really conscious, I think, of where they are and how they got there. Because there's so many speakers, gurus, right? Everybody's out there. But when you really listen to it, you can tell the big ones, the best ones, and I shouldn't say big, but like the best ones that you can see that are really affecting people on a day-to-day. Messaging is pretty, it's similar in a sense of like, they've all sort of found this way to find an awakened ability to consciously attack life that they have. And how they get there might be the difference, but they've all found that. And I think that is what people really should be focused on, right? Like, it's about feeling like you can own who you are right now, regardless of what's happened in the past. And then how do you move that forward, which should hopefully involve how that affects other people around you.
Oh gosh, absolutely. Because, if I go back to even like 6 years ago, because, some of the most beautiful parts about my human experience and my own awakening to who I am is that as I was seeking and I was asking questions, because I believe the quality of questions you ask yourself determines the quality of life you live. And so the clearer, once again, the clearer you get with those questions, what's happening is what you're seeking is always seeking you. So you're pulling into your experience basically what you're seeking, the solutions, the people, the opportunities, and I like to say the infinite avenues, channels, and opportunities for greater and grander expression. But the struggle for us as human beings is we get caught up in the how. We've all been given free will, but we want to control this how instead of surrendering. And so about 6 years ago, I was bedridden with degenerative disc disease. And I had just moved here from Los Angeles, and I was unpacking books in the garage, and I had sat, I brought about 6 of them into my bedside table, and I sat them on the bedside table. Well, that evening I asked really deep questions. So Another Gemini trait, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, but point being is I asked this question in the evening. I said, you know, how do you bridge the gap between time and space? And what do I mean by that? Meaning, how do you bridge the gap between desire and actually manifesting it and achieving it in physical form? And so, you know, I'm a meditator. And I'm also a surrenderer, meaning I just let go. And so I was woken up at 2:00 in the morning, and this voice said to me, do you want the answer to your question? And this voice said to me, there is no gap between time and space. There's only now. And here's the clincher about the whole thing. Remember those books on the bedside table? Well, I was wide awake when this happened, and I went next to, you know, the kitchen, and I made a pot of coffee, brought the coffee cup back, and I accidentally knocked the books over on the floor. And one of the books opens up to a chapter, and it literally said, how to live in the present, how to be in the now, how to bring your entire self into understanding the power of right now.
That's insane. But I love it though, because it's like, it's those things that I swear that happen to people when you just know, like, this is real, right?
Yep.
Like, that's right. Because
Right.
there's a lot of people that can come in and say, I don't believe that. I don't, but it's, and I say to those same people that say that, like, okay, because it doesn't hurt the person who this has happened to, or the people that take into. The reality is that in the end, and I don't want to say hurt, but it's like, it affects you, right? You choose not to believe that. But until you learn that there are things out there that are helping and guiding us, it's going to keep going, right? Like, it's until you learn that, nothing will change, really, right? Like, that's, I think, part of this being conscious and awake, is that everyone has realized we can control a lot more than we anticipate, but there are also forces outside of us that help guide us that way.
Well, it really comes down, you know, I like to always bring it back to the now, because what's really happening is you never get what you need. You never get what you want. You only get what you are. So when I keep bringing us back to the moment is always a projection of who you're being in here. So a lot of it is unconscious, because I like to bring it back to an operating system in a computer. When you have a brand new operating system, that sucker gets you out on the information highway, and it gets you there quick and fast. But what happens when viruses come into the computer is what do viruses do? They duplicate, and your computer starts to get bogged down, and it goes slower, and before you know it, what happens is your computer doesn't perform anymore the way you really want it to. Well, the same thing applies to you and me. If we have all of these beliefs and the inner critic and all of these parts of ourselves that are limiting us, it's almost like poking holes in an air balloon. If you're pure energy, if you're pure helium, and you're poking holes in the energy system with all of your, not good enoughs, not worthies, your judgments against other people, against yourself, then what's occurring is you're pulling to you in the moment parts of yourself, and they're mirrors to you of a piece of you. But the mistake we make as human beings is we want to attach to the same energy that's showing up in front of us. And so what I have learned to do, and what I teach my clients to do as a life mastery consultant, is I help you to master that part of yourself. And so when that stuff is showing up in front of you, you become the observer. Almost like you're outside, you've stepped back, and you're looking at it in front of you, because I like to call, I'm very silly, remember? So I like to create these playful names for everything. And I call this your vibrational reader meter. And your reader meter is saying, I don't know if you remember that Lost in Space when we were kids, and Will Smith with his robot, and the robot would say, warning, warning, warning. Your vibrational meter system is that warning part of you saying, hey, you, look at you. And it's a piece of you, but you don't have to own it. You don't have to give it power. And the minute you become the observer and you look at that piece of yourself and you thank it and you say, wow, gosh, thank you so much. Because what's showing up in front of you, guess what? It's showing up there because it's revealing itself to be healed, to be released, to be let go, and say, you know what? I choose something greater and grander for myself, and I am shifting up. And that's why I say, speaking it, begin to speak your clarity and say, this is who I am.
You gave me, and hold on, I have to pull it up because I wrote it down. Something when we first chatted that day, and it was so similar to what you just said. And I'm sure this is exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah, you're probably talking about uncurving.
Yeah, it was like I had to ask who you are, right?
Yes. Okay,
Yeah,
so let me
okay,
share it. All right.
Yes, please. That was
So,
awesome.
I like to describe it like this. So if any of you haven't heard before, we're pure energy, and you probably heard about chakras in the past. And our lowest base chakra is our root chakra, and that's our connection and our attachment to the physical world. It's the things that happen in the physical world. As we move up the chakras, right below the base of the belly button is what we could call Christ energy or Christ consciousness. And so this energy is the purest energy, and we want to pull it all the way up right above the belly button, from the belly button to the heart, from the heart to the throat, to the third eye, and to the base of the crown chakra. I just wanted to give a little example of that very quickly. But if you imagine an arrow, and my hand is an arrow, and that's at the base of my belly button, and it's blue, pure light energy. And that energy is always meant to go up because it's pure spirit, it's pure consciousness, it's pure love. And so if this energy is going up, what happens when we hit a roadblock, meaning a not good enough, a not worthy, a judgment against somebody else? That's called green stuff or subconscious stuff. When we hit this roadblock, the blue energy, the pure light of who you truly are, what does it want to do? It wants to curve back down, okay? Now, when it wants to curve back down and you hit that green stuff, that roadblock, what you say to yourself is you say, I know your real name. You are love. Return to your original position. Go upward. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And you let that energy come up, whatever that feeling is. You let it come up and you call it out. And you keep pulling that energy up, because the first time you say it doesn't mean it's going to go away right away. You let it come up again. And I tell people, use your imagination. If it's a person, if it's a place, if it's the thing, whatever it is, see them in your imagination right before you. I did this, with somebody who I had an issue with, 20 years ago. And I let that energy come up, and I saw their face in front of me in my imagination. And I just said to them, you know what? I know your real name. You are love. Return to your original position. Go upward. Thank you, thank you. I love you, I love you, I love you. And you keep doing it, and you keep doing it until the energy dissipates in that moment, because it may keep coming up for, a couple days. But let me just say this to each and every one of you. When you begin to develop this habit, you will begin to clear that residue of energy that you've given power to for so long, that no longer serves you, because you are pure love, and we are all one in absolute omnipresent, omniscient power always.
I love talking to you. I do. It's always like so uplifting, and it's one of those things where I've done a lot of studies and practices of wellness and being and all this. But for some reason, and I think that's why you were telling me this originally, is I was talking to you and saying, the one thing that every person, like any energy worker I work with, any medium, any tarot person, numerologist, whatever, all of these people say to me is always like, man, you really need to sit with your emotions or your energy or something. Like you You are amazing at pushing them away and falling through, but you have to do that if you really want to get to this next level.
Mm-hmm.
And you were the first person, though, that were really teaching me or taught me something that I could use to sit with it. Because I had told you my worry is to sit with this energy, or to sit with that feeling or that thought, instead of just go to my gift of being able to push it away. Is it would overwhelm me. And that, which I think was probably a true feeling for a lot of people, like going through an experience over and over again, or going through that bad whatever. But this is a great way to really be able to say, I'm going to push through it. And you're right, it might come back over and over and over again until it's really resolved. But you push through it this way versus hiding it. Because like, I think I had convinced myself I was pushing through, but really I wasn't. I was just burying it again, right? To try and keep going. And this way is like, no, we've acknowledged it, so we're not burying it. It's really about pushing through.
Yeah, and the thing is people set themselves up a lot for failure or struggle because they've created that belief system that something is hard. And so when you're living in the moment and you're consciously aware that you're being in a way, it's just all of a sudden you notice, oh, wait a minute, I'm having this thought. You have the choice, because everybody has volition. I mean, that's the greatest part about free will is that we all have a choice in the moment to how we are going to be and what we're going to let bother us. And so what a lot of people don't realize as well is, so let's just say for a second you have a thought and you think the thought and you're thinking it for 16 seconds. And then the thought veers this way for another 16 seconds. You're growing its power. Now it's going this way for another, and you're analyzing it in all these different directions. And so what's happening is that you're growing its power and you're compiling it. So by 60 seconds, you've given so much of your spiritual power, your spiritual energy in the direction of what you're feeling and thinking, that is what is the cause. Because here's the thing, if everything is energy, see, people say, oh, why does this keep happening to me? And what's this vicious cycle of the same thing over and over and over? And that's what is the cause. Because if you in the moment are feeling and connecting to a worry or a fear or a certain belief or judgment, everything in the universe, I said earlier, has a sound wave. It has a signal, a frequency. And so you're pushing that out of your aura, your spiritual body, and you're pulling back into your experience everything that is in alignment to who and what you are vibrationally putting out inwardly. And so, when it comes down to it, the minute you're mindful of it, we talk about mindfulness all the time. The minute you're mindful of it, take a hold of it. Let it come up, like I said earlier. Let it come up before you and say to it, you know what, I know your real name. And you're not going to give it power. And you don't want to push it back down, because all that's doing is keeping that vibration, that emotional attachment running in the underground of your operating system. And it's duplicating viruses that are slowing down what you really want.
Yep, 100%. Oh, it feels like a session. Like I honestly, like we just did a session. I always get really tired after a session. Before we have to sort of go, I know my quick, fast episodes they go by like in a minute, I feel like. I want you to tell everybody, how do we stay in touch? How do we get a hold of you? How do they get to join your tribe?
Yeah, so let me just say real quick, I have my new book out.
Awesome.
And it's Mastering Ultimate Thinking, Steps for Transforming to a Powerful Life. I have a lot of NLP in there, self-hypnosis, just things to reconnect you, recenter you into living in that moment.
When did that come out?
It came out in April 7th.
Perfect.
Yeah, it came out in April. And then you can reach me on the web at sherrygideons.com. And you can reach me on all my social media outlets, Instagram, Facebook at Sherry Gideons. And then I also have a women's group that we're really growing. The women's group is called Expanded Woman. On Facebook, it's Expanded Woman Business Network. And then we have a podcast, the Expanded Woman Network podcast. And then, of course, we have the High Vibe Nation. And let me just say about that name, just saying the name causes that over-the-top Sherry to go into Play.
Oh, and it's such a good show, like such a good show. Amazing guests.
Had you on there?
Yeah, well, yeah, there we go. That's all it took. I will make sure that all of this is linked up on screen and in the notes because
Nice.
you'll for sure want to follow her. And I'll touch base with you so I can get a link to your book to include too, so that we can put that, because it's like anything that we can all get that will help. I personally love a little NLP. I'm starting to do a little self-hypnosis. So I love all of that. So Sherry, thank you so much for being here with us and spending just a little bit of time. I have a feeling, since I feel like this one just flew by,
It did.
we're probably gonna have you back soon. There's a couple people where I've had other people that watch contact us and say, like, when is this person coming back? Or when?
Nice.
So I have a feeling you're gonna be one of them. So I'm sure we'll see you soon. But again, thank you so much. All of Sherry's links are gonna be linked on the video at the end. And we cannot wait to see everybody next week. Sherry, have a great one. You guys, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.